So, welcome to Dr. Cherie's podcast. I'm delighted that you have found time to join us today because I am interviewing one of my favorite people, Shiri Ben-Arzi, and today is number 7. As a matter of fact, the two of us have become so rebellious that we are on the YouTube list. They have taken our podcast down. So it's one of those very edgy things that you have to be careful when you listen to us because we may just be spotted as the revolutionaries of the COVID-19. So with no further ado, I'm going to bring on Cherie. Here we are together again. Now today you wanted to talk about the inner compass, connecting with it, finding it, and allowing it to be one's guide. Yes? So we're start. Yeah.
So the idea is to create this compass, this inner compass or GPS or roadmap. You use whatever metaphor resonates and works for you. But to create that inner tool that will help us navigate our way through changes. Because changes can be tricky and changes can work in a way that we didn't expect. So we can find ourselves during a period of changes in a situation where change hasn't been completed yet. We don't know what the new normal is or the new situation is. So we can't start making plans and things keep changing around us. Like now, every day there are changes. So how do we keep grounded? How do we navigate our way through it? How do we keep focused? How do we keep aligned with our values? How do we keep sane?
Yeah. I think they're important questions, and I'm really glad we're talking about that today because the constant right now, we have two polar opposites that are constant. One is nothing changes and every day feels like Groundhog Day, and the other is everything changes and we have nothing to hold on to. So dealing with those two polar opposites simultaneously is a little bit like an oxymoron. Feeling crazy because why am I so upset? Everything's the same. It's exactly the same as it was yesterday. Yes, but everything's changing around me, but I'm not in charge. I'm not in the driver's seat. And when I'm not in the driver's seat of the change process, it does create anxiety and stress.
True.
So search.
It's a search, and everybody talks about change in the context of learnings. Change is an opportunity, and we learn things from change. And what am I learning now? Yes. And change can be unpleasant. Sometimes change comes and we did not ask for this change, nor did we give it permission. And it feels like this change invaded our lives and disrupted them. So sometimes change feels like a disruption, and that's uncomfortable and it's scary and there's some loss to it. And it's more than Robert Frost's concept of loss, like the road not taken. It's deeper than that. It's profound loss. It feels unfair.
So taking charge of the change that's challenging my reality. Getting back in the driver's seat of one's life, especially when you feel like you're riding around in the trunk.
Yep. But then we also have to understand that when you are driving this vehicle that is your life through a period of changes, it's a different way of driving. So you have to use your skills in a different way, or maybe even use some new skills because the road is not clear. And maybe you have to drive, slowly. Maybe you have to pay more attention. What do you need to pay attention to? What happens when you feel that your car is spinning out of control and you're shifting gear and that's not working like you thought it should work, or you're used to how it should work? Things are different. They changed. Even your car is changing. So how do you drive a car that's all of a sudden changing? So what are the things that you can trust?
Yeah.
And what are the things that you need to be certain of And what are the things that you need to do in order to be able to navigate through changes with integrity, connected to your values, in a way that honors you, in a way that promotes goodness and doesn't harm anyone else, including yourself.
So I think one of the steps in that process is one finding a calmness. Because if you're in your head and you're what if, and you start spinning out of control, anticipating the worst that can happen, that's not going to allow you to find your inner compass. Finding your inner compass or your ballast or your center only comes from a bit of, as you mentioned, focus, trust, and the certainty about who you are and grounding that.
And in order to do that, you cannot remain in the past, even though a past is a good place to go to get some learnings. You cannot go into the future where they're what if and what am I going to do and what's going to happen and all those questions, which are important, they're all in the future. You need to be in the present moment. You need to be here and now. And in order to be here and now, you need to let go of all those frantic thoughts. Okay, you need to let go of your mind and just be present in the body. That is the place where you will find that initial place of calm. That's where you will find you. No matter the circumstances and the storm around you or the changes around you, this is where you begin.
You reminded me of a story that happened to me in 1967. And I was in Europe studying at the University of Dijon. And we took these weekend trips to different locations, historical sites, etc. And this particular time we were going to Robuchon, which was built by Le Corbusier. It was a fabulous, wasn't so fabulous, but I mean, it was really a beautiful church that was built out of the rubble from World War II that he put it back together in a whole different way. And the bus ride there was like going to hell for me. There were chickens in coops, there were dogs and cats, there were people on top of people. There were two seats, and then there was a middle folding seat in the bus. So it was overfull with people, and there was so much noise. And at that time, I didn't know that I was a highly sensitive person, and that noise drives me mad. And I was sitting there going, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, I gotta get off this bus, I gotta get off, I can't live. And I was really trying to think, like, can I fit through the window? When we stop, how can I get out of here? I was really going nuts. And then there were two things that happened. The man who was sitting next to me provided a certain amount of calmness. And then I went deep inside and started praying. And I just started praying for the capacity to not go crazy in this environment of chaos. And it was, to me, it was complete chaos. To the people there, it was probably felt normal. But to me, it was unbridled chaos. And what happened is I calmed down. And when I went into the church, there was this wave that came over me of complete, utter calmness, to the point where I felt like I was in a spiritual state. And I thought, what I've been praying for on the bus happened in the church. And I felt like the Holy Spirit had taken over. I really felt just like I can deal with anything now. I can deal with anything. It was a remarkable experience for me. And I hadn't thought about it in years.
You know, it reminds me that for me, I'm not Christian, I'm Jewish, but first of all, I was, until the age of 6, I grew up in West Africa, and all my friends and everyone around me were Muslims and Christians. So I celebrated Jewish holidays, Christian holidays, and Muslim holidays. And one of my favorite places, and that's an anchor of peace and quiet, is a church. So when I travel, I usually look for the nearest church and I go and I meditate. It's not even, it's a spiritual thing, but it's not a religious thing for me.
Right.
There's something about the energy in a church which from me, in my personal experience, is different from the energy in a synagogue. And it's different from the energy in a mosque. I haven't been in many mosques. But that's a place where the moment I enter, it's like a reflex. I just calm down. I just calm down. And then it's easier for me to take that cleansing breath and just bring the attention to the here and now, let go of the mind for a few seconds and be fully present. And that's where I find my compass. And from there, I can go out and I know where I'm going and I know how I want to be.
So if we take that moment, because you and I have both had those experiences of that calm coming over and all of a sudden feeling like the spiritual mantle has enveloped me. And if we take that and we ask our listeners, our viewers, to be able to recall a moment when you felt calm, still, peaceful, anchored, as if you felt there was no fear and there was trust in some higher power, whatever you believe in, doesn't really matter, but some trust in a higher power and your capacity to be able to be in this moment without fear. And that, I think, is what we're asking people to do, is to go there and anchor that experience and then couple that with that cleansing breath so that you can call on that energy anytime, anywhere.
And maybe you can connect that with a gesture in order to help you anchor that so it's more accessible. So find that experience and bring it up, kind of conjure it as if it's happening right now. Remember the sensation, remember the experience. And if you combine that with a gesture or a metaphor, then what you're doing is you're creating a link between the two, and then it's becoming easier to access that. And if you don't have that, well, then you can use this exercise that I do sometimes and I teach my clients. So it always starts with a deep cleansing breath, because when we are inhaling, then we're moving the diaphragm and there's more oxygen going to the brain. So we start with an inhale, preferably inhale through your nose and exhale through your mouth. If that doesn't work for you, then do it in a way that is pleasant for you. And then take your attention to your feet and imagine that your feet are roots and you're sending them down into Mother Earth. Okay, connecting with Mother Earth. And then you're taking your attention up and connecting to your higher self, whatever that may be for you. So now you're creating this axis here, okay? And then on one hand, you're going to hold all of your experiences, everything that you've learned during your life. And in the other hand, you're going to hold your capabilities, everything that you've been born with. And then you're going to bring everything together, okay? The energy of Mother Earth, the energy of your higher self, everything that you've learned, everything that you are, you're going to bring it together into your heart. And then you're going to go open your heart with a smile. And that creates presence in the moment.
I love that. I love that. I think that's so special. Now, the good news about this is that it's being recorded. So yes. You can play this over and over again, and you can call that forth for yourself. Is that nice? Thank you, Shiri. That was beautiful.
So when you do that in the midst of change, what you feel is an immediate experience of being anchored in yourself. And then you can ask yourself, what is true for me? We're looking at what is called the 2% truth. There's a 2% truth are the things that are true for me regardless of the circumstances. So I know that for me, what is always true is that I come with a good intention. Sometimes it gets screwed up on the way. But I come with a good intention to do good.
Right.
And the other thing that is absolutely true for me is that I pick up on energies. Like I have this sensor in my gut that when something doesn't feel right, doesn't feel precise, something feels a little bit off, even if I can't name it, I can't put my finger on it, I have learned to trust that because something is off for me in that moment.
Mm-hmm.
And this means sometimes I need to stop, sometimes I need to slow down, but I need to trust my gut feeling. So these two things are absolutely true for me when everything is changing.
That's great. Trust your gut.
Yeah. Nice. So what's true for you? What is the 2% truth for you?
Whenever I get uncertain and not sure about what to do or what to eat or not to eat, you know, those kinds of moments. Am I hungry? Am I not hungry? Am I eating out of boredom or am I eating because I have an appetite? What is happening right now? I do two things. I usually call forth and ask for help from God, my angels and spirit guides and people who've passed over, because I ask them a lot from their perspective that they can see more than I can see. So I just say, I need a message, God. I need a message about right now, this moment. What's the next thing that I need to do? And they come like that. They come so fast. And they're just always crystal clear. It could be, get a glass of water. Okay, I can do that. Or it could be, you know, sit down and meditate. Or it could be, tackle this module. But they come in very clear directives. You know, it's not like there's a lot of uncertainty. Or it'll say, you know, have a rice cracker. You can do that. And usually there are things that I didn't think of myself. I hadn't had them in my mind, but they are things that I can action. I can take action on them without a lot of thought. I mean, I could argue with them. I could say, yeah, but this isn't the right time and I'm going to eat in an hour and I'm really going to, and I have these other, I could argue, but I've given that up. Many years ago, I just gave up arguing with the messages. So now what I do is I ask, I listen, I trust, and I do. And that's something that works for me during my waking hours.
Right.
It may sound crazy, but it's, you know, and sometimes it'll say, take a deep breath. You know, it'll just say, take a deep breath.
That's a lot. That deep breath can change a lot. Only sounds trivial, but it's not. It's really profound. I think another thing is really changing the way we look at stability. We tend to look at stability as something that is fixed, but maybe it's not. So if you were on a little boat in the middle of a lake,
right,
how would you maintain stability? The stability would be dynamic. Okay, it would be your ability to move with the waves, with the movement of the little boat. That's a different kind of stability. And that's a stability that's more appropriate for times of change. So you need that inner movement that is connected to inner flexibility. Because if you're going to be rigid, you're going to be knocked over. So it's about...
So that is a really interesting thing, because when you're in a boat or on a boat, you can see the waves, you can feel the waves, you can actually get your center of gravity low enough and anchor yourself so that you can move with the waves and the flexibility. But in an airplane, you can't see the waves.
True.
So those currents come without giving you any warning. You don't have any warning whatsoever. And so the turbulence and the chop that happens in a plane happens, and all of a sudden you're jostled around, and it's a different kind of having to find your stability in the middle of turbulence that you can't see or anticipate.
Mm-hmm. So physically speaking, these are two different kinds of changes, or two different kinds of instabilities. And the body works with them in a different way. So when you're on a boat, for example, or the ground underneath you isn't stable, you're going to use your pelvic area in order to stabilize yourself. So it's like the warrior position in martial arts. Okay, you take your way down to your abdomen area, your pelvic area. You're going to bend your knees a little bit. You're going to tuck your tailbone, and that's how you create that stability that works with the changes. So what does that mean, you know, taking our attention or creating a center of gravity in our pelvic area? The energy of the pelvic area is a very basic energy of life. Okay, it's about what we need. If you look at the chakras there, okay, you have the first two chakras in that area, and that's talking about our basic needs for survival. Okay, so what do we need in order to survive? Okay, we're not, and this is not going into survivor mode, okay, like all frantic, I need to, no. What are the basic things that I need right now in order to hold myself? So physically speaking, we need to eat and drink, and we need warmth, and we need sleep, and we need touch, and we need contact. So the ability to take your attention, your energy to your pelvic area, what you're doing is you're assessing what are the things that I need right now in order to maintain my inner stability. When you're experiencing turbulence in a plane, you're going to feel them usually in your breath and in your guts. So you're going to feel nauseous because your guts are moving. And the way to stabilize that is going to be through your breath, through your diaphragm. So whenever you feel that your breath is constricted, your chest or your guts are constricted, you're going to inhale deeply. And whenever you feel that there's a lot of air inside you and you're kind of floating, you're going to exhale. And that's how you're going to balance, not through the pelvic area. So if we look at the metaphor of breathing, breathing is about making space for myself, acknowledging that this is a space that I'm taking, okay? And this is what I need. The air that comes in is something that plays with, goes in and out. There's a circular movement here, okay? It's not this movement, it's this movement. It's more circular. It's a different energy, different skills that are needed. It's also playing with polarity, in and out. Okay, so when something contracts, I'm going to expand it. When something expands, I'm going to contract it a little bit. So it's a different energy. And if we take these two metaphors, okay, as lenses, and let's look at the changes that are happening in our lives right now. Where do I need to create that balance through the pelvic area? Okay, that warrior position. Bring the energy down, make the center of energy low. Ask myself, what do I need in order to be balanced here? And when do I need a different kind of energy that is more circular, goes in and out? It also means I'm connecting with others, playing with polarities a little bit. So another thing that we can do when we're going through times of change is listen to the body, because the body mirrors things to us. The body speaks to us all the time in metaphors and sensations. Listen to it. You don't have to, it's not too complicated. Listen to, there's something uncomfortable coming up in the body, a sensation. Ask yourself, this sensation is like what? Just ask, what's it like? Okay, you don't have to go deep into what is it teaching me? What does it symbolize? What would Louise say about it? She's fabulous, okay? But keep it really simple, okay? This feeling, what is it like? What's happening? Something will come up for you. And work with that.
Very nice. So, in summary, what we want for our viewers and listeners to be able to take away from our conversation today is that you have the power to be able to find stability in the midst of chaos. And it has a lot to do with your intention and your willingness to create your own compass or GPS within yourself so that you can find that center when you need to, through your breathing, through your warrior pose, through your pelvic anchoring, and through that cyclical breathing that allows you to breathe in and breathe out, and to find yourself the space that you need to claim to be able to be centered, focused, grounded, and in alignment with your highest and best self.
Yeah. And when you do that, from that place, you go back to your values. And after you have identified the values that you need at this point, those values, those core values that are non-negotiable, okay, even when there's a crisis, even when things are changing, even when you're in a place of not knowing, then you go and look, what are the beliefs that serve me here? And as you ask that, some limiting beliefs will come to meet you as well. And that's okay. But now that you are centered and you have created that place of inner calm and stability, you can deal with those as well.
Great. So, Shiri, once again, thank you so much for joining me today with your words of wisdom. I love it. I think we should change the name of this to Shiri and Cherie Speak Words of Wisdom.
I love that name.
During the pandemic or whatever. Anyway, thank you for joining me. Really fun to talk with you as always. And thank you for joining us. And we hope to see you again next week for another issue of Dr. Cherie's podcast. Thank you. Bye-bye.